यूट्यूब में शायद पिन करना पड़ेगा ओ पिन करना पड़ेगा ओ पिन करना पड़ेगा ना ओ पिन करना पड़ेगा ना
Hello, everyone. Yes. Wish you good evening, everyone, and wish you a happy Navratri as well. I hope you had a nice tax audit and statutory audit season. Pack off a lot of things to be done. So I thought it's a good time that once we are like done with all those statutory compliances which were due yesterday, 30th September. So something which is getting effective today. कुछ चीजें ऐसी है जो आज से ही इफेक्टिव हो रही है. तो जैसे ही ये एक बिजी टैक्स सीजन खत्म हुआ तो हम लोग ने सोचा व्हाई नॉट टू शेयर सम ऑफ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट काइंड ऑफ प्रोविजंस व्हिच आर कमिंग अप टुडे. तो आप सबको हैप्पी और शुभ नवरात्रि. और हम लोग शुरू करते हैं. आज का ये जो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है कि कुछ अमेंडमेंट्स व्हिच आर इफेक्टिव फ्रॉम टुडे इटसेल्फ. हालांकि नोटिफिकेशंस वगैरह 28 तारीख को इशू हो चुके हैं, but still the effective date is today. So there were like few important things which we felt that it is very, very essential to bring it to notice to some of our friends and clients. And in fact, when we started, we thought of this. तो हम लोग ने पहले सोचा था कि क्यों एक Zoom पे ही वेबिनार रखेंगे. But since the participants जो हमारे पास रजिस्ट्रेशन आए वो करीब 150 के आसपास हो गए थे, तो देन वी थॉट कि भाई सारे लोग जूम पे थोड़ा मुश्किल होगा, तो लेट्स गो फॉर यूट्यूब लाइव. तो if you have got any queries pertaining to today's session, which is like particularly the effective amendments which are from today, you can mail it to us at info@gscintime.com, or you can even put it over live chat. तो लाइव चैट में भी आप डाल सकते हैं आपकी क्वेरीज जो हैं. तो सेशन का जो डिजाइन है something like this, that first of all we'll take up the issues which are important, then we may take question answers pertaining to that. So maybe in next 15-20 minutes you can send your queries if you wish to discuss anything, because it's not going to be like Zoom kind of where you can unmute yourself and talk. So only option which we are left nothing but that is chat. So you can put it over chat. And then maybe there are like few further amendments. So my other teammate would like guide you through those provisions कि भाई बाकी के और क्या amendments आए हुए हैं. So first of all, let's talk about certain very big issues which have been like emerged out of this notification, and then we will also discuss how do we really tackle those kind of things, and then if certain questions are left we can discuss. So are we ready? First of all, the background of ITC, जो पूरा एक ITC का बैकग्राउंड है वो इस तरह से जा रहा है कि अल्टीमेटली इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट इज लाइक गवर्न बाय सेक्शन 16. जो सेक्शन 16 है वो पूरा इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट के लिए बात करता है. और उसकी अगर हम लोग डिटेल में बात करेंगे तो सेक्शन 16 इज डिवाइडेड इनटू 4 पार्ट्स. सो वी कैन से 4 सबसेक्शंस. तो पहला जो सबसेक्शन है दैट टॉक्स अबाउट एलिजिबिलिटी. विल डिस्कस दैट व्हाट इज दैट, एलिजिबिलिटी का क्या पोर्शन है वो. सेकेंडली टॉक्स अबाउट सर्टेन कंडीशंस. So whatever is eligible is subject to certain conditions. Thirdly, it is specifically talking about capital goods. Capital goods का जो ITC portion है, that you cannot claim as ITC also, and you can claim depreciation under Income Tax Act also on that ITC portion. And the fourth subsection is talking about time limit to avail ITC. Now, maximum time period जब तक आप एक particular invoice का ITC या debit note का ITC लेना है, तो उसका maximum time limit क्या है? That is being specified under section 16(4). So these are the four main subsections. So we are going to discuss more about subsection 2. जो conditions हैं उसमें क्या changes आए हुए हैं और उसके रिलेवेंट क्या है उसका ज्यादा डिस्कशन करेंगे, और उसके पहले हम लोग एक बैकग्राउंड के लिए विल डिस्कस अबाउट एलिजिबिलिटी. So if you see, this is section 16(1), which talks about eligibility. Now, if you see, every registered person shall subject to such conditions and restrictions. तो conditions and restrictions जैसे हमने बताया subsection 2 में आएंगे. Subject to that, उसको ध्यान में रखते हुए, in the manner specified in section 49, be entitled to take credit of input tax charge on any supply of goods or services, or both to him, which are used or intended to be used in the course or furtherance of his business, and the said amount shall be credited to the credit ledger of such person. So it could be pertaining to any goods or services, okay, the tax which you have paid, the goods or services which are used or intended to be used. If like you are going to use it in future, that is also fine. And it could be in the course or furtherance of business. So it could be like directly connected to your business, indirectly connected to your business, or even sometimes like that can help you progress in your business. So furtherance of your business, it will be allowed. That's the basic eligibility criteria. Now, if you see that what are those conditions which are like restricting or putting some kind of hurdles. So abhi tak ke jo hai, these are like present 4 conditions, 5 conditions. So presently conditions kya hai? Ki first of all, recipient should be in possession of some document, okay, which could be either a tax invoice, debit note, or any other prescribed tax paying document, which could be like even bill of entry, या ऐसे कुछ भी documents हो सकते हैं. ओके, सो एक वैलिड टैक्स डॉक्यूमेंट आपके पास होना चाहिए जिसके बेसिस पे आप आईटीसी क्लेम कर सकते हैं. दैट इज फर्स्ट कंडीशन. सेकंड कंडीशन इज दैट आपका जो सप्लायर है, द वन हु इज सप्लाइंग टू यू, ही शुड हैव फाइल्ड हिज जीएसटीआर1. ओके, सो ही शुड लाइक प्रोवाइड ऑल द डिस्क्रिप्शन ऑफ सप्लाईज मेड टू यू. He should provide your details, your GST number, etc. So all those proper details he should have furnished in his statement. And secondly, such details should have been communicated to you also. That is another condition, sub condition you may say so. So whatever he is filing, that should be first of all proper, stating all the supplies made to you, all the particulars, and that communication. Who would send that communication? GSTN portal. So GSTN portal should have communicated to you that these are the supplies which your supplier has stated, and to that extent only you can claim the credit. Now अभी यहाँ पर भी लोगों का कुछ ये पॉइंट आ सकता है कि what if supplier has furnished information but that has not been communicated to me, so that could be like portal error, and can we do anything about that? So we can discuss separately about that, but then that is the condition, that he should have furnished the information, all the particulars, and you should have got the details. It should be communicated to you. Thirdly, supplier, the recipient should have received the goods or services. By mistake, it's mentioned supplier. The recipient should have received all the goods and services. So if I am claimant of ITC, then I should have received goods as well as services, okay, or both. And then the tax should have been paid by the supplier. Either he can pay through cash or he can pay through admissible ITC. The input tax credit which is admissible to him, out of that he can pay. So the crux is basically he should have paid taxes. Then only I can claim the credit. And fifthly, I, who is the recipient, who is claiming the ITC, should have filed his return. And return is only one as of now, that is 3B, and then maybe annual return. So my return should be filed in which I should have claimed that credit. That is the fifth condition. So now these are the five conditions. As far as the supplier has filed GSTR 1 and the details should have been communicated to you. ये जो particular change है, that has come through previous Finance Act. Okay. तो उसके पहले तो 4 condition ही थी. उसके बाद फिर ये supplier जो ये second condition है, that was inserted later on. Now what we are going to discuss today is the fifth condition. Okay. And fifth condition is leading to some kind of issues. What is that? This is one more condition which says the details of input tax credit in respect of the said supply communicated to such registered person under section 38 has not been restricted. So ये कहता है कि भाई जैसे आपको कम्युनिकेट होना चाहिए, आपके सप्लायर ने पहले अपने 1 में GSTR 1 में डालना चाहिए, लेकिन वो जो है वो आपके रिस्ट्रिक्टेड क्रेडिट नहीं होने चाहिए. ओके. And therefore now it is relevant even to read what is section 38. Okay. Now again the details, if we read out this particular condition, okay, it is saying the details of input tax credit in respect of the said supply communicated to such registered person under section 38 has not been restricted. So let us see what is that section 38. Now section 38, if we see, typically it says that details of outward supplies furnished by the registered person under subsection 1, 37(1), that is GSTR 1. 37(1) का मतलब है GSTR 1 जो आपका सप्लायर जो फर्निश कर रहा है उसका and such other supplies as may be prescribed, and an auto-generated statement containing the details of input tax credit shall be made available electronically to the recipients of such supplies. तो वो सप्लायर के मान लीजिए कि भाई 10 सप्लायर्स थे, अलग अलग बायर्स को, अलग अलग रेसिपिएंट को, तो 10 के हाथ में जब वो इलेक्ट्रॉनिकली एक स्टेटमेंट बन के आ जाता है, दैट इज अंडर सेक्शन 38(1). ओके. उसमें सारी डिटेल्स कंटेंट होगी. तो जिसको हम लोग बोल सकते हैं आपका 2B, जो GSTR 1 वो फाइल करता, पहले वो 2A में बन के आता था, अभी वो 2B के नाम से आ रहा है. तो ये सेक्शन बता रहा है कि भाई ये जो आपको स्टेटमेंट आएगा इलेक्ट्रॉनिकली, उसमें जो सप्लायर ने डिटेल भरी होगी आपको पूरी कम्युनिकेट हो जाएगी. ओके. यहाँ पर पहले ऑटो ड्राफ्टेड स्टेटमेंट ऐसा कोई वर्ड हुआ करता था. नाउ दे आर सेइंग इट इज ऑटो जनरेटेड स्टेटमेंट to the recipients and such supplies in such form and manner within such time and subject to such condition and restriction as may be prescribed. So 38(1) says that okay, you will be given a statement, okay, which will disclose whatever your suppliers have furnished information. Now what is relevant is subsection 2. Now this 2 says the auto generated statement shall consist of 2 things. First, details of inward supplies. उसके लिए आउटवर्ड सप्लाई, आपके सप्लायर के लिए तो आपके लिए वो इनवर्ड सप्लाईज हो गए. डिटेल्स ऑफ इनवर्ड सप्लाईज इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ विच क्रेडिट ऑफ input tax may be available to the recipient. Okay, that is one portion. Ki bhai, whichever inward supplies have come to you, on that, how much is the ITC available, that would be communicated to you. Fine. Then the B portion says that details of supplies in respect of which such credit cannot be availed, whether wholly or partly. It can be either 100% not available or even partly not available by the recipient on account of the details of the said supplies being furnished under subsection 1 of 37(1). अब जो 37(1) में आपका GSTR 1 जो वो भर रहा है, आपको जो 2B बन के आ रहा है, उसमें पोर्टल आपको डिटेल्स देगा कि भाई ये वाली जो सप्लाईज है ना, उसके ऊपर आप क्रेडिट मत क्लेम करिएगा. नाउ कैसे पता चलेगा पोर्टल को कि भाई ये क्रेडिट लेनी है नहीं लेनी है? तो उसके लिए जो हम लोग ने टाइटल रखा है इस टॉपिक का, क्या टॉपिक है? 6 कंडीशंस. ओके. तो हम लोग जो 6 इश्यूज की जो बात करने वाले हैं कि भाई विच आर दो 6 इश्यूज, तो ये इन्होंने एक कंडीशंस जो 6 कंडीशंस बताई है, वी टॉक अबाउट दोज कंडीशंस एंड दीज आर दोज कंडीशंस. Now, of course, this particular section, if you see the GST law book, it was already there. It is not there from 1st October. It has come into the law book. Law book में पहले से था, but they were not notified. So people were not much bothered. Now it is effective from today, 1st October 2022 से ये आज से effect में आ चुका है already. So therefore it is very, very essential that we read out those conditions which are saying that for these reasons the recipient will not be entitled to claim any credit. और एक के बाद एक condition देखते हैं क्या conditions हैं. First condition says that if the supplies are made by any registered person within such period of taking registration as may be prescribed. So आपका supplier है, उसने registration ले रखा है, तो वो registration लेने के बाद government will prescribe. It could be 10 days, 10 months, whatever. वो period तक जो भी prescribed time period रहेगा, उस time तक the supplies made by that person to you will not be eligible to you as a credit. So किसी ने मान लीजिए कि आज रजिस्ट्रेशन ले लिया, आपने तो देखा उसका जीएसटीआर नंबर सब सही है, वहां पर पोर्टल में भी आपने चेक किया, इट इज एक्टिव, और आपने सप्लाईज लेना शुरू किया. मान लीजिए कि भाई आपका उसके साथ कोई ज्यादा ट्रांजेक्शन नहीं है, वन टाइम यू आर डीलिंग विद दैट पर्सन एंड यू आर परचेसिंग अ वेरी बिग क्वांटिटी और अ वेरी बिग अमाउंट का पर्टिकुलर commodity or service from that gentleman, okay, and you are buying without even knowing, because आपका 2B तो जनरेट होके आएगा after he furnishes his GSTR 1, okay. So मान लीजिए कि आज अगर जो 1 अक्टूबर है, आज मैंने किसी को ऑर्डर प्लेस किया कि भाई मुझे ऑफिस के लिए आई नीड अराउंड 30 लैपटॉप्स, ओके, 30 लैपटॉप्स का मैंने ऑर्डर प्लेस किया, आई गॉट द टैक्स इनवॉइस. तो आगे की जो 5 कंडीशंस थी, I should have received the goods, I should have tax paying document, वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह. So presuming like all those conditions are fulfilled. Now that person has taken registration, say for example, recently. Okay. Now I'll get his 2B somewhere after 11th of November, because he will furnish his GSTR 1 on 11th November. So उसके बाद only like I can see his my 2B. Now say for example, by any chance that 2B says that this person ka credit is not available to you because for him around 3 months ka there is some period for which like the recipients cannot avail the credit. Now what will happen to you? You would have checked his GST and registration status, he has paid taxes also, everything is there, but because of this condition which says government has got powers to prescribe a time period within which you cannot claim credit, time period from his registration. So government can say that 3 महीने तक ये registration इसका है, उसके बाद 3 महीने तक no recipient can claim credit. Then if you are one of them, you will be stuck. Okay, that is first condition. How do you make out that whether there is some condition or not? Unless 2B comes, okay, over your portal, you will never come to know that whether that person is under abeyance or restriction or not. Second condition. So this is first problem. Second problem, by any registered person, any supplies by any registered person who has defaulted in payment of tax and where such default has continued for such period as may be prescribed. Now again, such period as may be prescribed is yet to be prescribed. ऊपर भी जो मैंने बोला, within such period, that is also yet to be prescribed. We don't have any rules as of now with us. Okay, that is going to come somewhere in future. आज की तारीख में we don't even know whether it will be 15 days or 15 months or 15 years. Second condition also, it's not known that for how long, okay, who has defaulted in payment of tax, कब तक का उसका default होगा, तो like I'll be disentitled to claim ITC. Okay, again that is also I'm lying in lurch. So again, government has to come up with those rules. So say for example, they say that if that person has defaulted in payment of tax and default has continued for a period of say 30 months, okay, and there could be various reasons for that continuing default. I'll tell you one of the reasons, probable reasons, that say for example, that person was under a belief that this product which is selling is liable to say 5%, okay, whereas the department is of the view, no, this is something liable to 18%. Okay, classification issue. Now, after 5 years, because we have recently completed in July 2022, 5 years of GST. After 5 years, some person comes and says that, okay, your liability was 18%, and that comes to around, say, for example, 5 crores. Now, that man doesn't have any money to pay off and then fight or whatever. Okay. So in such a case that if he takes more time to gather his money and pay off or like litigate or whatever, until that point in a point of time, the recipients would be stuck. Okay. So for that period, they won't be allowed to claim any kind of ITC. Okay. And what would be that period? Again, that is also to be determined by the government, that whether that default of payment should be for 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, and is it something connected to the amount of tax, or is it something like, okay, in general, there is some period which is going to be prescribed. But presuming कि भाई जो भी period आ रहा है, तो how would you first of all make out that when you are buying from that person, should you buy from him or not? Should you claim credit or not? Because sometimes that supplier may not tell you that I am like having that continuing default. And even if, say, for example, he may not be sometimes be aware also that he is in default. Maybe after making supplies to you, some officer tells him that, yes, you are in default and you are like in trouble. In such a situation, me being an honest recipient, I am honest taxpayer, I have paid him all the money along with tax. But because of this second condition, my ITC would be completely at stake. Okay, so this is second problem. Thirdly, by any registered person, the output tax payable by whom, in accordance with the statement of output supplies furnished by him under the said subsection during the said period, during such period as may be prescribed, exceeds the output tax paid by him during the said period by such limit as may be prescribed. To to convert or translate this statement into English, simply what does this mean? That, say, for example, he is filing GSTR 1, okay, in which he is saying that I have supplied goods worth rupees 10 lakhs, okay, or services worth rupees 10 lakhs. So, and his rate of tax is like, say, 18%. So output tax liability is 1,80,000 rupees. Okay? That is the GSTR 1 which has gone. Then after furnishing this GSTR 1, he realizes that, okay, sorry, in fact, this all supplies actually were not supplies. They were like kind of on provisional basis, or maybe goods or return basis, etc. It was those kind of supplies. Or by mistake, that 10 lakhs was not actually 10 lakhs. It was 1 lakh only. Okay. 1 lakh only. So then, say, for example, he realizes that on 12th day or 13th day. So what will be his final ultimately liability which he'll pay off on the date of filing 3B? He will say the actual liability that, okay, it is not 10 lakhs which I have supplied, it is only 1 lakh. Therefore, the GST liability is not 1,80,000, it is actually 18,000 rupees only. Now, as per this particular condition, if he is paying, even for genuine reasons, if he is paying lower than what is stated in GSTR 1, as if GSTR 1, like, you cannot make any mistake at all, okay? It has to be error-free. Then in that case, like, the entire credit which is stated in GSTR 1 will not be available to anyone. Now take a reverse, now a different scenario, again in this third case. That, say, for example, you have declared something which is less in the previous. Reverse case lete hain ki your supplies were, say, for example, you have raised 11 invoices, okay. 11th invoice was raised on the last date, okay, and while filing GSTR 1, you only picked up 10 invoices. You did not notice that there was one more supply, 11th invoice was also there, and you forgot to mention that in GSTR 1, okay. So GSTR 1 had gone, you have supplied actually up to 11 invoices, 11 supplies were there, but you reported only 10. Okay. So say for example, आपका liability जो 2 लाख बनता था, तो आपने उसमें जो दिखाया उसमें 1,80,000 rupees दिखाया. Now you realize that on 12th or 13th before filing your 3B. Okay. So what will you do while filing your 3B? Of course, you will take cognizance of those things, and then you will say that, okay, ultimately my actual supplies are 11, total tax liability is 2 lakhs. So I have reported 1,80,000, let me report 2 lakhs rupees. So you will pay 2 lakhs rupees as a tax. Fine. When it comes to the next month, what will happen? And next month, that pending invoice, you will try to report in your GSTR1, correct? So आपने next month में वो GSTR1 में दिखा दिया जो 11th invoice बाकी रह गया था. Now in that case, what would be the amount of tax which you would be paying? Will you be paying that 20,000 rupees once again? No, you will say already in the previous 3B I have paid. So therefore, though in GSTR1 I am showing, say for example, whatever 10 of this month and plus the last one which was forgotten. So I'm reporting 11 invoices in this month. But you will pay taxes only for the 10th or 10 invoices, because for the 11th you already paid taxes in the previous month because you are realized before filing 3B. So what will happen in this month? Legitimately, up 11 invoices you are reporting, tax of all invoices have been paid up. One invoice का आप already भर चुके थे previous month में, और बाकी के 10 जो ये current month के थे, you are paying now. Still, because of this condition, that person also could be in trouble, and even the recipients, all the recipients would also be in trouble. So this is third most condition. How would you determine that your supplier is meticulous enough to work out his tax liability properly, to furnish all his details of GSTR, I mean the supplies correctly, and also debit notes also? Because the debit notes you can report anytime in future also, that something was supplied at 1 lakh rupees and then you realize no, actual value was 1,20,000 rupees. You can raise debit note of 20,000 rupees and pay tax on 20,000 rupees at any point in time, maybe 10 years later. In such a case, this condition number 3 will put such a onerous task on the recipients. It will be very, very difficult for any kind of recipient to check the books of the supplier, to check his compliance level, check his accuracy level, and claim the credit. So this is something which is very, very, I would say, kind of impossible sort of condition which has been put across. Many of us probably may not be even aware of that these are the kind of things which have been introduced by the law, because we are all busy uploading something. It could be sometimes ITR, TDS, sometimes GST, something else, audit reports. But then when this kind of statutory provisions are downloaded, then we realize that, oh, what a big trouble has been created so far. Then the fourth condition, by any registered person, the supply is made by any registered person who during such period as may be prescribed has availed credit of ITC of an amount that exceeds the credit that can be availed by him. So his eligible amount, okay, was, say for example, 80,000 rupees, but he has claimed 1 lakh rupees. Now you may not be aware that what is his eligible amount, and then that eligibility again could be subject to various restrictions. हम लोग जो पढ़ रहे हैं 38, तो उसको भी 38 applicable है. And then again there are section 17 and all different kinds of provisions which can restrict his ITC. How me being a recipient would be able to make out, in order to be compliant, that yes, he has correctly availed, and how the portal will be able to make out? That is the biggest question. Okay, that how come portal would become omniscient and then it would come to know that there is something which is not eligible to that person and still he has claimed that credit. In such case also, it will be communicated to you that these credits are not available to you. Now the fifth condition, the fifth trouble. Supply is made by any registered person who has defaulted in discharging his tax liability in accordance with the provisions of section 49(12), subject to such conditions and restrictions as may be prescribed. Again, this is something which is like your tax liability and things that that's already there, that person also should have paid taxes completely, so that you can be eligible to claim credit completely. And fifthly, sixthly, it could be any other class of persons as may be prescribed. All of a sudden, government may say that whoever, say for example, जिसका भी नाम J से शुरू होता है, so Jayesh Gogri or anybody else for that matter, all these people का credit should not be available. Okay. Or maybe like they may say that all this kind of particular class of persons who are traders, you cannot claim credit at all. Okay. It could be like any class. They are not saying that that class would be like determined basis of whatever particular criteria, or it could be like, so government is having very, very wide powers to say all of a sudden that, okay, this is the class. If you are buying from this kind of dealers, this kind of suppliers, your entire credit is donation to the government. Tata, bye bye. Okay. So in such a case, like how would you ensure that it's something, first of all, that person is prescribed or not, and then whether another problem is, say for example, how would portal come to know? And the third point is that what if portal itself is doing some glitches? So say for example, out of 6 conditions, some particular condition is applicable to you. Actual disallowance has to be 1 lakh rupees, but portal is showing some particulars which totals up to, instead of 1 lakh rupees, 10 lakh rupees. So as per section 38, it should be 1 lakh, but then portal is sending you a communication to be with a disallowance of 10 lakhs rupees. Then how do you really make out that whether portal has worked out things properly or not? First of all, how portal came to know about all these things is a very big question. Secondly, whether the portal has done its job well, really, how would you determine? And we know that what is the level of satisfaction which we are all getting from the portal's work. So that's something like, I would say, very particular. Now, previously also we were facing a lot of issues that that person should have paid taxes, you should have furnished return, and then you should also furnish return, etc. When, what, a lot of discussions have happened. Now these are 6 more bombs which have come to us, and therefore it is very relevant that first of all we should be aware of this, that something of this is there, something lying on above our head, and then we can think of that, okay, what could be the probable solution? So are you all ready to listen that, okay, discuss what are the like probable kind of solutions? If you are ready, then you please type yes in the chat. Okay, in your YouTube live chat, you may please write yes, that okay, we are all eager to know that probable solutions. What could be those possible solutions? So please write yes in your chat that yes, we are willing to discuss those conditions, those solutions rather. I'll discuss about some other 2 issues also. And but then first of all, this section 38 is a big one. So therefore, we need to address this particular angle first. And mind well, as of now, this 38, yeah, Piyush Bhai is saying yes. And I hope others also need answers. Yeah, Shraddha Nandu also says yes. So mainly yes, Mr. Gala, Amish Rambia, yes. So Rinku also says yes, Rekha Jadhav. So all, we are all ready that, okay, what could be the probable solution? That is very important. Okay. And these are, I'm saying, probable solutions. Huh? These are not like that, okay, you are going to take away with some proper 100% jacket proof kind of formula. But yes, we can discuss that what could be the probable scenarios at different stages. So these are the possible solutions. Maybe before the availment, when we are lying, as of now, like we are on the 1st October itself. And now probably some purchases would have already started, and then some purchases are likely to happen in near future. What could be our first thing? Now, as we discuss, howsoever amount of precautions you may take, still you won't be able to ensure that the issues are not Okay. So therefore, in that scenario, it's very essential that we check that what could be possible solution, that we cannot ensure that I will know my supplier 100%. I'll check his books and then I'll check his GSTN portal and everything I'll keep with me and then only I'll buy. It may not be possible. First of all, we need to interpret this section well. So sometimes, if at all we want to take certain certain precaution, then maybe based on reading of this law itself, we can come up with some solution. That is the one thing. And we'll discuss how we can read this law so as to benefit, so as to say that, okay, this thing is probably not applicable to me and I am eligible. Okay, that could be one is interpretation. We'll discuss that more in detail. Second, one more good thing which we can do is representation. Now, people may say that government sunta kidhar hai, vagera, vagera. But then I would say that if you make a sensible representation, it could be either by organization, it could be by a trade industry, or it can be even by an individual person. Okay. So an individual professional also can write, an individual taxpayer also can write to the government. We have got all the rights. And that representation should be well drafted. Then only it can like create impact on others. So my architect client told me that he used to write letters to this Ministry of Town Planning, etc. Maybe one person only writing to them, and that single email also created a lot of difference in the like development regulations, etc., etc. So even one person ka there is a lot of weightage if the whatever representation you are sending is having a proper kind of scene, properly well drafted kind of submission. Third is, of course, writ, that one challenges this section at this stage itself, so that before it takes the birth and creates trouble, before that itself like it's challenge. Now, this could be done at the before the stage of availment. Now, what is at the stage of availment? Okay. Again, I would say that interpretation may help you. Okay. That you would have taken some notes, some opinion, some kind of proper basis, which say that, okay, on this basis, the note could be internal. Okay. You can simply prepare an internal note also that these are the bases on which like I would like to claim the credit. I'm not debarred. At this stage, say, for example, you already availed, and now there is some audit or inquiry which is coming up. Okay. Then you may challenge the subjectivity of section 2BA, which is talking about that 38. Again, it's connected to interpretation. Okay. And that is also connected to section 73 or 74. That first of all, if at all you feel as a government or as a department that I have claimed some credit which is in excess of my entitlement. So you say that, okay, आपका eligibility was 1 lakh और आपने तो 1 crore रुपए का ITC ले रखा है. Okay. If you feel that I have claimed that 99 lakh rupees ka excess credit, what was your duty? You should have followed the route of adjudication. You should have sent me the so-cause notice permitting me to offer my reasons that why I have taken this 99 lakh rupees extra. If you are dissatisfied later on, then maybe yes, I can understand that I will go for further appeals or whatever. But until you hear me out, until you give me a proper opportunity of explaining my reasons, how can you simply say that, okay, this credit is not available at all? Okay. So in this regard, again, there are like various judgments. Some judgments as of now, maybe some creating some disturbance. But if you see the Supreme Court judgments previously, they very well say that your ITC or sandwich credit is your indefeasible right. Okay. So if at all government wants to impound upon that right, okay, then it has to give me, it has to follow the principles of natural justice. So without giving me any opportunity, how can you simply by sending me a 2B, which is not even generated by an officer, it is not even generated by a proper officer, simply a machine is sending me that kind of communication, how can that communication can disentitle me from claiming credit? So that is something which can be challenged at the stage of audit or inquiry, that it has to pass through the route of so-cause notice, and I should be given an opportunity of explaining my case. Say, for example, so-cause notice has already come and then you are facing the officer, okay, that you need to explain your case. So let's say, for example, audit authority or inquiry person is like satisfied with your answer, and he says that, okay, we will give you a so cause notice, and then you answer. That first of all, of course, your submission has to be in a proper way, that why 38 cannot be made applicable. Now, there could be like many reasons to say that. Firstly, is it something asking you which is beyond your control? Again, you will find that there are various judicial pronouncements, maybe of various high courts, including Delhi High Court, Madras High Court, and Apex Court also, that something which is beyond your control, which is not within your reasonable limits, then how can you ensure that these things happen? And then how can you be penalized for that? If something has happened wrong with that supplier or something wrong with your portal, then how, me being a genuine recipient, you can deny my credit? So on those basis, as I mentioned, that there are various judicial pronouncements, and then we are coming to that interpretation wala angle also, which can be very well submitted and can be challenged. And of course, if at the education level, normally many people have that tendency, particularly from the departmental officer side, वो आगे जाके आप लड़ लेना, सर हमको मतलब वो सब समझ में नहीं आता है, ओके, वो आप अपील में जाके ले लीजिएगा, आपका केस बहुत स्ट्रांग है, आपका केस बहुत स्ट्रांग है, लेकिन हम लोग के हाथ बंधे हुए हैं, वी कैन नॉट गारंटी यू क्रेडिट बिकॉज हमारे सुपीरियर ने कुछ कॉल लेके रखा है, वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह. एंड देन से फॉर एग्जांपल ही इज गिविंग यू सच काइंड ऑफ some bullshit, and then you are forced to go to appeals. Then of course at the appellate level also, one can provide a detailed kind of representation with proper logic, that why 38 is draconian, which is beyond control, and something which is not even applicable to me. Okay. So now come to that interpretation, which I was mentioning in the previous case, that first of all, we should interpret in a way that it should not applicable. And then your maybe a submission, etc., should go in that direction. Firstly, if you read out that 38, again, if I go back to the previous slide, okay, it says that 38(2) will be an auto-generated statement which will consist of details. And if I see that 38(1), it says the details of outward supplies furnished by the registered person under section 37(1). Okay. And then we will be communicated to you, we will be communicating to you, the portal would be communicating those details. So now, and then if I read this additional condition, which is the cause of this trouble, let's read this condition once again. And then the interpretation which comes up, I'll share. It says the details of input tax credit in respect of the seed supply communicated to such registered person under section 38 has not been restricted. So I am saying this has not been restricted is after section 38. It is not before section 38. Say, for example, if this section would have read like this, that the details of ITC in respect of the seed supply communicated to such registered person has not been restricted under section 38, then the interpretation would have been different. So what I'm trying to put across is this, that what you can do under section 38 is merely communicate. You cannot determine whether this is eligible or not. Okay. So section 38 mein portal has worked out that these details which are furnished by your suppliers are not eligible to you. But that does not mean it has been restricted. Okay. Has not been restricted is coming after section 38. So it should be like restricted by a particular provision. Section 38 has got rights and powers only to communicate that these are the details. That's all. Full stop. It doesn't have any powers to restrict in itself. Okay. As I mentioned, again, let's go to 38(2). Okay. That statement shall consist of details, okay, of inward supplies and details of supplies in respect of which such credit cannot be availed. Okay, so it just gives you details that credits cannot be availed, but that does not say that um, you will not be allowed to claim this credit. Okay, so though one may say that फिर मतलब क्या था, section 38 and section 16 दोनों साथ में read करके ऐसा लग रहा है. Okay, लग रहा है, but I'm saying the possible interpretation is that if they would have said that whatever is stated under section 38, that is restricted completely, that won't be allowed to you, then it would have been fine. But they are saying that the details would be communicated to you under section 38, and only if they are not restricted, then you can claim credit. Okay, so the restriction, the interpretation part is that communication have happened as per section 38, but restriction should happen by which section? 38 does not have any powers to restrict. It has got only powers to communicate the details. That's all. It can be either section 16 or maybe at the max section 17. The section 17 has got some block credits and all those concepts. So section 16 may, other than this, by otherwise then that this clause BA, if there are say other 5 conditions which are putting any restriction, then you could be restricted. But by virtue of section 38, the restrictions do not come. It is merely giving you details, and therefore one can say that it is merely a communication. It is not an order. Okay, it is not also putting any kind of restriction by itself, and therefore I'll ignore those details. Though to be में लिखे आया है कि by this details are not available, this supplies credit is not available to you, but I can say that okay, I am not restricted by any other section, so therefore just I'll ignore your communication. This sounds, maybe to certain people it may sound a little technical, it may sound little aggressive, but I am saying that what is the probable solution? When you are facing this kind of provisions which are absolutely draconian, is there any way to say that, first of all, is it applicable to me? And if there is any possibility, why not to explore those kind of possibilities? That is first proposition which I was putting across. So that was about the 6 big issues which which was the title of this session. And there are a few more things also which are like connected to ITC. That first of all, the details which you are supplying as a supplier, because you would also be supplying to many people and you would be having various recipients. So then you are free to disclose all your details in GSTR 1, that to whom you have supplied, etc., etc. Surprisingly, there is a change in law which has come from today, which says that the section 37 can prescribe you conditions and restrictions, okay, for furnishing the details. Now आपको बताना है कि आपने 100 आदमियों को सेल किया है, आप डिस्क्लोज करना चाहते हैं 100 आदमियों को क्या सेल किया, कितना आउटपुट लायबिलिटी बना, कितना टैक्स बना, बट देन द लॉ सेज नो, हम लोग बताएंगे आपको क्या बताना है, आपको क्या नहीं बताना है. ओके, उसके लिए भी हम लोग कंडीशंस डालेंगे, उसके लिए भी हम लोग रिस्ट्रिक्शंस डालेंगे. नाउ दिस इज समथिंग रियली फनी, that how can you put a restriction and a condition to tell me that, okay, tell you that, okay, how much I have supplied on outward side? This is really crazy. And I would say this is something may not be even known to the really policymakers. Sometimes it could have been drafted by some, I don't know, junior sort of or unexperienced kind of draftsmen or maybe suggestion makers, and then the suggestions would have been really, I mean, just taken without even application of mind that what could be implications of this kind of suggestions. So this is also a stupid sort of provision, that even to tell me that, okay, these are the supplies which are made to you, made to my different buyers, even on that also government will put restrictions and conditions that when to tell, what to tell. This is really funny. Subsection 41, which says that earlier it provided that you can claim credit on provisional basis, and then later on it will be discussed that what is really eligible or not. So I was at the first go eligible to claim ITC, whatever I wanted to claim. And then subsequently, it was subject to scrutiny or whatever, rechecking, review. Now they say, forget about that self-assessment basis wala ITC. You cannot take any ITC on your own. Okay? हम बताएंगे वही आप लेने का. So now what is the change in law? That first of all, you cannot take ITC on provisional basis on the self-assessment basis. Okay? Self-assessment basis पे आप अपने हिसाब से आप कुछ भी ITC नहीं ले पाएंगे. Okay? And if ITC is available in this, by a recipient in respect of supply of goods or services for which tax has not been paid by the supplier, then such recipients shall be liable to reverse such ITC along with interest. So government says that, okay, you cannot claim ITC on your self-assessment basis. If it is known to you that that person is not paying tax, your supplier, then you will reverse on your own. Okay. And you will not claim credit at all, first of all, and then you will reverse and you will pay along with interest. If that person has not paid, you will pay along with interest. Now, say for example, you are buying some services from GSC in Time Services Private Limited. Okay. And there was some invoice which was raised, and then some GST also was collected. And for whatever technical reasons or whatever reasons, I defaulted in making that payment. Okay. For the only one day. Okay. Now that details would have reached, and then maybe after 2 days, I would have paid up that tax also. Okay. Or take another example where there was some person who has genuinely defaulted. Genuinely means like actually he has literally defaulted, and government, of course, went after him and they recovered from him. Now, me being recipient, how would I be aware that first of all, whether that person has paid taxes or not? Secondly, whether subsequently he has paid up, or whether he has made default good or not? Thirdly, whether subsequently you have been able to recover money from him or not? How me being a recipient would be aware of that? At the first go, you will let me know probably, maybe via 2B or whatever, that that person has not paid taxes. Therefore, you reverse. But immediately after making me reverse, if he pays, then how would I be known? Probably, okay, government will let me know subsequently by another 2B that that person has paid taxes. That is also okay. Question could be about the interest also. At the first place, you made me reverse along with interest. It is specifically asking to pay me interest. That person has paid payment, maybe after made the payment after 6 months. And he has paid interest for his default. Okay, he has paid all penalties, late fees, interest, everything he has paid. Now, what about my interest which you have collected from me? Now, government has got the full revenue along with interest. I was not even at default. I have already paid him taxes and all the amounts within time. And you made me pay interest also. There is no provision to grant me refund of interest also. So this is like one more problem which has been created. So this is all which I was able to think of about the issues. Okay. Now these are like different things which we are doing, and the disclaimer. Yeah, this is only for your knowledge, etc. So I have got some. If at all there are some queries, so I'll just check. So some questions. Let me see from the last. Okay, MBN says that the compliances would be easier for the large enterprises. Probably large enterprise could lend into large troubles also, it seems. That because some of the things are not even possible with all your manpower and money power. It's literally troublesome. Riyan Gala, whether ITC reflected in GST or 2B of a particular month and missed out to be claimed in GST 3B of the same month can be claimed GST 3 of the subsequent month. That should not be a problem. That whatever once it's communicated to you, in my view, it should be allowed. Javatsa is asking what is limits and conditions which are yet to be set up given such huge and just to avoid fraud or people trying to run away. Yeah. Javatsa is asking a very relevant question, that you are, to a honest recipient, you are putting so many idiotic conditions and so many hurdles. What steps have you taken to stop this kind of fraudsters? What are your effective steps? On that side, like, it's almost, there is hardly any provision. Rather, if you see the recent circular, which is very, very surprising, it says the fraudster has not done any supplies at all. Okay. So therefore, where is the question of tax? So he should pay only penalty. That's the kind of circular clarification which has been issued. So the actual fraudster, who is actually only issuing invoices and creating frauds, he won't be asked to pay taxes. He'll be asked only to pay penalties, which could be general penalties, 25,000, 50,000 rupees only, because there is no tax involved. He has not made any supplies at all. That's the kind of clarification. Now, what will happen to the recipient? They say that, oh, recipient has availed wrongly, and therefore he should pay up the taxes. He should reverse the credit. He should pay the interest also. And since it's like fraudulent credit, therefore he should pay penalty as well. Okay. So, proper, I mean, there is no such real kind of provision which has been brought in. Piyush Bhai is asking, Piyush Chande, clause is also notified now. Hence, credit of financial year 2022, ITC not reflected until now in GSTR 2B. I think Piyush Bhai ka question I'm unable to see completely. Maybe you can send write down again, probably. Okay, the export freight benefit, etc., etc. I think we are like, as of now, we are restricting our discussion only to this ITC issue. So let's focus on this. Maybe other issues can be taken up later on. So with this comments, I would hand over to my colleague Nirav Nisar, who has also helped me in preparing this small slides kind of presentation. And there are some more amendments. So you can, I mean, if you're interested, like there are some more amendments, not on trouble side. There are some good amendments also which have come up. So Nirav, are you ready? And if you all are ready, he would share those balanced things before you. Nirav, you can start. Maybe next. Yeah, we have left with few minutes only, but then you can take up 5-7 minutes.
I'll take a quick run through. So thank you, Jayesh sir, for such a wonderful session. And I will be taking up a few more amendments. So I'll set up my presentation in a minute. So hello, good evening, everyone. So the session design is like there were various amendments which were provided in Finance Act 2022, and then those amendments were made effective from today itself. So the amendments are divided into two categories. Most of the amendments pertains to changes in time limits, and there are other amendments. So we are beginning with the amendments which are impacting the time limit. So first amendment has happened in section 16. So section 16(4), subsection 4, earlier provided that time limit to claim input tax credit was due date of furnishing 3B for the month of September following the end of financial year in which such invoice or debit note was issued, or the date of furnishing relevant annual return, whichever is earlier. Now the provision has been amended and the due date of furnishing 3B for the month of September has been struck off. Instead of that, law has provided 30th November of the succeeding financial year as the date to claim ITC. Hence, the net impact of this amendment is, instead of 20th October, which was the due date of September month's return, now taxpayers are entitled to claim ITC till 30th November. Then next amendment is regarding extension of time limit to furnish credit note. So section 34 provides for issuance and reporting of debit and credit note. So out of that, there is subsection 2, which deals with time limit to issue credit note. Of course, commercial credit note, there is no time limit, but for the purpose of GST law, there is a particular time limit which is set. So earlier, again, the time limit was linked with due date of September month's return, which was 20th of October normally, and due date of annual return, whichever is earlier. Now, similar to section 16.4 with ITC related due date, similar amendment has been made in credit note related provision. And 30th November of the financial year, succeeding the financial year to which credit note pertains, has been notified. So now effectively a person can report the credit note till 30th November. So next amendment is regarding extension of time limit for rectifying the errors in GSTR1. So section 37 has been amended. GSTR1 is a statement of outward supplies. So that statement earlier, if a person wanted to rectify that outward supply details, then the time limit was again due date of return for the month of September, which is 20th October, or relevant annual return, whichever is earlier. So similar amendment as we saw above. So 30th November has been in place instead of September month's return. So now the effective time limit is from 30th November. Then next amendment has been taken place in section 39. So the non-resident taxable person who is supposed to file return in form GSTR 5 within 20 days after the end of a particular month. So now that time limit has been reduced, and instead of earlier 20 days, it is now 13th day. So say if a person is supposed to file annual GSTR 5 for the month of September. So earlier it was allowed to do it by 20th of October. Now that person has to do it within 13th day of subsequent month, that is 13th October. So again, there is extension in time limit for rectification of TCS return as well. So earlier, the time limit to make rectification in TCS return, which is form GSTR 8, was due date of furnishing TCS return for the month of September following the financial year to which such TCS return pertains. Now that time limit has been changed to 30th November or the following financial year. So this will provide some additional time limit to e-commerce operators for rectifying their TCS returns. Now, the time limit to claim refund for specified persons. So there is one section under GST law that provides benefit to specialized agencies of United Nations organizations or multilateral financial institutions to claim refund on the purchases that they have made. So earlier the time limit was 6 months from the last day of the quarter in which they had received the supply. That time limit was further extended to 18 months by notification number 20 of 2018. Now the law has been amended by Finance Act 2022, and this specialized person are allowed to claim refund within 2 years from the last day of quarter in which they have received the inward supply. Simultaneously, one more notification has been issued and withdrawn, notification number 20 of 2018. So net effect, the 18 months and 6 months are striked off, and now the time limit to claim refund is 2 years from the last day of the quarter in which specialized persons have received the inward supply. So next amendment is regarding computing the time limit to claim refund of supplies made to SEZ. So SEZ are special economic zone under GST law. the supplies made to SEZ are considered as zero rated supplies, and there was ambiguity in computing the time limit. So normally there is one explanation which is provided under section 54, which talks about the relevant date. So the time limit is 2 years from the relevant date, but there was no clarity as to what will be the relevant date in case of supplies made to SEZ. Hence, people were referring to the residuary clause, which stated that time limit should be reckoned from the date of payment of tax. Now, law has been made clear, and the time limit has been expressly specified, which is to be reckoned from the due date of furnishing the GST return in which the supply has been made to SEZ unit. Then there are other few amendments. So first amendment is regarding cancellation of GST registration. So section 29 provides powers to GST authorities for suspension or cancellation of GST registration. So currently, if a composition taxpayer fails to furnish return for 3 consecutive tax periods, then his registration is liable to be cancelled. And for other category of taxpayers, if they fail to furnish their returns, that is Form 3B, for a continuous period of 6 months, then registration is liable to be cancelled. Now, the law has been amended, and for composition dealer, instead of 3 consecutive tax periods, it is now specified that GST registration can be cancelled if that particular person is not filing GST return for a period beyond 3 months from the due date of such return. For persons who are paying quarterly returns, that is QRMP taxpayers, quarterly return monthly payment taxpayers, if they don't furnish GST returns for a for 2 continuous tax periods, then their registration is liable to be cancelled. And again, for other category of taxpayers, if they don't furnish their GST returns for continuous period of 6 months, then their registration is liable to be cancelled. Then there is amendment regarding sequential filing of GST R1. So basically, section 37 provides that every registered person is required to furnish statement of outward supplies in form GST R1. So earlier, though portal requires that if a GST return of a particular month, if a taxpayer is willing to file a GST R1 of a particular month, then he should mandatorily file GST returns of previous month. So that provision was not expressly mentioned in GST law book. Now the practical thing has been made applicable in the law book as well. So now if a person is filing GSTR1 of August month, then August 2022, say, then he has to finish off all the previous GSTR1, then only he'll be eligible to file that return. Then next amendment is regarding late fee in case of delay in filing TCS return. So the late fees, which is 100 rupees every day for CGST, which is equivalent to 200 rupees if we consider together CGST and SGST. So earlier late fees was not applicable in case of delay in filing TCS return. Now the scope of late fee provision, which is section 47, has been widened and it has been extended to TCS return as well. Then a refund of excess balance in electronic cash ledger. So earlier the excess balance in electronic cash ledger was supposed to be claimed by filing GSTR 3. However, GSTR 3 was never implemented. Therefore, by way of circular, it was stated that a person can claim refund by filing GST RFD 01. Now, that practical thing has implemented in the law, and corresponding amendments are made in section 54 as well as rule 89. And now a particular person, if he has to claim refund of excess balance in electronic cash ledger, then it can be claimed by filing form RFD 01. Another is powers to withhold refund. So earlier, GST authorities were entitled to withhold refund only in one particular case, which is a refund of unutilized balance of input tax credit. Now that powers have been widened, in case a particular tax demand is pending, then GST authorities can withhold the refund even for the other categories of refund. Then there is one more amendment in rule. Rule 37 earlier, Rule 37 basically requires that if a person has not paid a payment to their supplier within 180 days, then ITC is liable to be reversed. This is in line with second proviso to section 16 of CGST Act. So now this rule 37 has been substituted and a sub rule has been omitted. So sub rule 3 of rule 37 requires that if a person is reversing the ITC, then he has to pay it along with interest. Earlier, the reference of interest was given rate of interest was to be borrowed from 50 subsection 1. And the period was expressly given in Rule 37.3 itself, which was starting from the date of availment of ITC till the date of payment. Now, now this rule has been amended and sub rule 3 has been omitted. Therefore, the interest related provision has been captured in sub rule 1 itself, which says that interest should be paid in as applicable under section 50. So entire rate as well as period needs to be determined as per section 50. So these are the amendments which has taken place. So if there are any questions, we can take up that.
Yeah, I think the last provisions were self-explanatory.
Hmm.
So thank you everyone for this participation, large number, though it was communicated to you only at the last moment. Yesterday we decided, and then such a large number, you people participated, and a lot of people have sent their comments, compliments. Thank you very much. Wish you a great Navaratri, a great festival season. Stay safe, be happy. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.